Yo, what is up, guys? It's Cohen back here again today with another video. You've seen this before. I've done this a couple times on the channel, but I'm here again reacting to y'all's hot takes on Twitter. Yesterday, I dropped a tweet that says it's that time again. Drop some NBA hot takes for me to react to in a video. This is that video. I'm interested to see what you guys have. If I remember correctly, there were some pretty interesting things to talk about, and so I'm going to go through most of these, if not all of these, depending on what the time looks like. I've got a timer over here. I'm going to try not to go too long, maybe like 15 minutes or so. So it won't be too long, but I hope to get to as many as possible because I love reacting to these. I love being able to talk about a bunch of different topics. So leave a like, leave a subscribe if you like this type of content. You don't want to miss out on it. Your support recently has been unreal. So thank you so much to all the current subscribers. And if you want to join that support train, go ahead and subscribe now. So I'm going to go ahead and get into it. I'm going to just start scrolling through the tweet, and if I see something that I want to talk about, I'll stop and react to it. Otherwise, I'll keep going. Also, there are some that will probably be repeats in here like there typically are, and so if I see some of those, I probably won't talk about it more than once. Just to let you know, that's why I might be skipping your tweet. So the first one comes from Mason. It's not fair to discredit Giannis for not having any rings when LeBron and Jordan didn't have a ring at his stage of his career. I think Giannis does get a little too much slack for the whole not having a ring thing. Giannis is very young still. He's got a ton of time left to get a ring, and he's just now, like, this is the best his Milwaukee Bucks team has ever been. Obviously, he's had Chris Middleton, and I think the only reason why Giannis gets so much pressure to win a ring immediately is because of how good he's been so early in his career. A multiple-time All-NBA guy, multiple-time MVP and Defensive Player of the Year last season. And the Bucks have had some disappointing moments where in the bubble last season, losing to the Miami Heat was not at all the end that they pictured for their honestly super kind of expectation shattering season. A lot of people knew the Bucks would be good, but they were much better than most people anticipated them being pretty dominant throughout the regular season before the bubble came around, and the Heat just kind of slapped them in the face in round two. I think that Giannis, he needs more time to get a ring. Like, obviously there are guys who come into the league and get rings earlier than him, but he's been so dominant as a regular season player. I think that's why so many people get on him for the whole ring thing. I do think Giannis will get a ring, whether it's in Milwaukee or not in the next few seasons, we'll see. But I think he's got a great chance for the next couple of years having Middleton and Jrue Holiday locked up for the long term. So we'll see if he's able to do that. But yeah, I think I agree with that. Steve Kerr is not actually a good coach. I don't want to say he's a bad coach, but this season to me, Steve Kerr has felt like a mediocre coach is what I think I would go with. I'm always going to go back to the fact that Luke Walton, who I think is not a good coach, I can straight up say that. I don't think he's a very good coach, at least not at this point in his career. But he managed to take that Warriors team. While Steve Kerr was out with back problems, I believe it was, he was coaching that Warriors team, and they were just as dominant as they were under Steve Kerr. Like, it was like nothing even changed. And so I don't know if that was just because of the system that Steve Kerr put in, but the fact that Steve Kerr hasn't put that many adjustments into this season, they kind of still feel like they're running the same plays that they ran years ago with Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson. Like, it doesn't feel like they've tried anything new despite having way new personnel, and that to me is what feels like he's not a very good coach. I'm not sure if that's just overreaction to this season. I know they've had a lot of injuries. I know Steph has missed some time. Obviously, Klay hasn't been around for a while. But the lack of adjustments and the lack of personnel seeming to know their role makes me feel like Steve Kerr's not a great coach. The Suns will make the finals. I think that I don't think this should be that hot of a take. Maybe it's because it's the Suns and because there are a lot of guys on that roster that haven't, in some people's eyes, haven't proven anything. I think it's ridiculous to say that a guy like Chris Paul hasn't proven anything. But most people just say proving things as winning a ring or making it to a finals, was something that Chris Paul has not done. And I would love to see the Suns win the finals. I think they're definitely capable of it. I made a video a couple days ago, about a week ago, talking about how the Western Conference feels very wide open this season. Maybe that's just because the Lakers are hurt, and when they're healthy, they'll remind me how dominant they are. But I feel like any team between the Jazz, Lakers, Suns, Clippers, and Nuggets could win the Western Conference. I believe there are 5 teams there that could win the West just because of how talented they are, their strengths, their weaknesses. And the Suns are a very well-coached team. They have a ton of talent, great leadership, and a guy like Chris Paul. Jay Crowder, too, has been there and done that, and a rising star in Devin Booker, a guy who might make an All-NBA team this season and should honestly probably be in a little bit of MVP conversations, despite the fact that he's not, though. The Suns are still really good, and I could see the Suns at least making the finals, if not winning the finals. The Heat won't make it past the first round. It's possible, mainly just because they've dealt with a lot of injuries and stuff. They've dealt with COVID-related issues. Jimmy Butler missed a bunch of time earlier in the season. And so if they manage to fall to like that 6th seed and they have to play a Milwaukee Bucks, a rematch of the disappointing series for the Bucks that I was just talking about last round, if they have to play like a Bucks, a Sixers, or a Nets, if they fall to that 6, 7, or 8 spot, I could see it. I could see them not making it out of the first round. But if they're a 4 or 5 seed, it's going to be tough for whoever they're playing. I would love to see a Heat Celtics matchup in that 4 or 5 spot. I think that would be an incredible matchup. It just time remains to tell if the Heat will fall further because they haven't been playing very well as of recently, or if they will find their groove and rise back up towards that 4 seed. Although those first 3 slots are definitely out of the picture, it's very clearly going to be Brooklyn, Milwaukee, and Philly. What order those 3 teams will be in is yet to be decided, but those are going to be the 3 teams. And if you have to face one of those 3 teams first round, you're going to go home. I think that's just the way it's going to go. Anthony Edwards would be another Andrew Wiggins. I don't agree with this. And maybe that's just because they're both in Minnesota. I don't agree with this. Andrew Wiggins had a great rookie season, but I just feel like different about Anthony Edwards. I don't want to write him off as another Andrew Wiggins, which is also weird to say because Wiggins is still super young. I know he hasn't lived quite up to the hype, but he's playing pretty well in Golden State this season. He's developed into a all-defensive team caliber player at times. So I don't want to call Wiggins like this massive bust or anything. I don't think that's a fair comparison to make. KPJ will have a better finish to the regular season than Oladipo. It depends what you like classify that as. If you're talking stats wise, probably, just because the Heat have a ton of options. Hero, Butler, Bam, amongst other guys. KPJ, it's just like Christian Wood is like the main guy who's going to take numbers away from him, and John Wall, and I guess Kelly Olynyk, who's been balling out there. But if number wise, I could see Kevin Porter Jr. having a better finish to the season in that sense. But I mean, like team production wise, Oladipo is definitely going to win because the Heat are a much better team than the Rockets. So I guess it just depends what you value as better, whether it's Oladipo playing his role better, helping his team to win more games, or if it's KBJ putting up better numbers. It just depends what you look at that as. Jokic is the MVP. Lou Dort is the unsung hero of OKC, and Golden State is an overrated dumpster fire. I don't think they're overrated. I think people know Golden State's not very good at this point. Curry's really good. Oubre's been disappointing. Same with Wiseman, although Wiseman's 19 years old, so it's not right to say he's been disappointing. Not as good as fast as people might have hoped he was going to be, especially with a team that was looking to contend this season, or I don't think they realistically were going to contend. They're hoping to be better than they are right now, on the brink of falling out of the playoff game even, or the play-in game, excuse me. Lou Dort, the unsung hero, I absolutely agree with this. Lou Dort is super impactful to the team, even if he doesn't score a lot. He's not the most efficient scorer. He started the season really hot from 3, but has kind of fallen off recently. And I still think he is, in a lot of ways, our unsung hero. Obviously, our best defensive player. He still is reliable every now and again from the 3-point line, and he's a pretty good ball handler. He's a pretty good distributor when he gets those opportunities. We could talk about a game earlier in the season when we played the Knicks, where everyone was pretty much out to handle the ball, and Dort played a lot of point guard, and he had 5 assists, 1 turnover. He played that a lot in college, and he does it for us sometimes. I agree, Lou Dort is way more impactful than like even the memes will give him credit for. Jokic is the MVP. It's getting harder to argue that. If I had to pick right now, maybe the fact that the Nuggets are moving up in the standings, I think is huge for his MVP case. If he can get top 3, I think it's his award to lose. The Nets are the worst team in the NBA. Borderline. I wouldn't put him back. I think the Thunder right now, the way we're tanking, losing by 30 almost to the Pistons. Right now, we're probably the worst team in the NBA, but the Nets are close second. Atlanta is scarier than Boston in the playoffs. I'm going to disagree with this one. I think that's just particularly because Boston has guys who have proved it before. Jason Tatum was a hero in the Eastern Conference Finals, bringing LeBron James's 2018 Cavaliers, the team that he carried there, to a Game 7. They just barely lost without Kyrie Irving. Jason Tatum is really good. He's proven it again and again in the playoffs. You also have Jaylen Brown, another all-star. Kemba Walker, a former all-star that can still be productive. And especially now that Robert Williams has finally been given the starting job, given more opportunities, and he's starting to emerge as a star. Alongside with the fact that they added Evan Fournier at the trade deadline, I don't see how Atlanta is scarier than Boston in the playoffs. No, I don't think so. I think you have to go Boston. The Hornets are only a couple pieces away from being contenders. Depends what you mean as a couple of pieces. If you mean like a couple all-stars, yeah. If you mean like a couple role players, no. At least not yet. Maybe if LaMelo Ball keeps developing on the trajectory that we've seen him play at so far. He had an incredible rookie season. Hopefully he gets a chance to return for the playoffs if the Hornets do make it there. But If that all depends on LaMelo's development. If you're talking right now, if I put like a couple solid role players in this Hornets team, they're not a contender. If I put like a LeBron James on this Hornets team, they're absolutely a contender. It depends what caliber of player you're talking about. You have to specify what caliber those pieces are before you can make that decision. Curry's been the most valuable player to his team this season. I don't think that's a bad argument. The Warriors are not good. In fact, they're terrible without Stephen Curry. So I think that's a fair argument to make. I don't know if this is a hot take, but Shea is better than Fox. I don't think that really necessarily is a hot take. I've seen it go both ways. So Pokusevski is the highest ceiling in the 2020 draft. If we're just talking ceiling, he definitely has one of the higher ones. I don't know if I want to say the highest with guys like Edwards, Wiseman, Ball. But Pokusevski definitely has one of the higher ceilings. I would say definitely a top 5 ceiling. This is just talking ceiling, by the way. I'm not talking like maybe even top 3 ceiling. I'm not talking about how I think they're going to end up. I'm talking the ceiling of the player. And the fact that Pokusevski is 19, he's been starting to shoot the 3 consistently. He can handle the ball. Good rebounder. If he puts on some size, he has already shown some defensive tenacity. If he puts on a little bit more size to keep up with the NBA game, Poku definitely has one of the higher ceilings in the draft class. The Bulls are the team of the future. I've been meaning to make a video about the Chicago Bulls because they're a team that I really think isn't getting enough credit in terms of their young core and how they've managed to develop guys. I thought picking up Nikola Jokic was a great decision. I thought that drafting Patrick Williams at the time was a little bit confusing just because I like Denny Avdija better at that spot, but he has proven me wrong so far. Patrick Williams has been really, really good, and I love seeing players prove me wrong. I love seeing players prove the media wrong because everyone was talking about how Patrick Williams was this awful pick, and now he's shown up to be a solid two-way player. He's shown a ton of defensive potential. He can knock down some shots here and there. His offensive consistency needs to step it up a little bit, and I'm sure it will as he develops. That's usually the biggest problem with people coming into the NBA is they struggle offensively to stay consistent. You'll see tons of rookies shoot at not great percentages, but I think Patrick Williams is going to be a stud. I would be surprised if he didn't make a couple all-defensive teams. You throw that in with a Zach LaVine who has shown to be a almost 30-point per game scorer on any given night. Nikola Vucevic, who is 30 years old, but I think he still has a few really good seasons left in him, at least 3, maybe 4, because he doesn't rely on his athleticism that much. He's a good shooter. I think he's going to age pretty nicely, like a LaMarcus Aldridge type guy, where even a couple seasons ago when LaMarcus Aldridge was 33, 34 years old, he was still super productive and an all-star caliber player. So I do think the Bulls are really good. I still think there's something there with Kobe White. I know a lot of people are down on him right now. I really like Kobe White's game. I think Lauri Markkanen is probably on the way out, but I do like the Bulls as a team of the future, yes. Raptors would be a dynasty if Kawhi stayed. That's possible. This Raptors team, especially think about last season's Raptors team. The fact that they were a game away from making the Eastern Conference Finals to play the Miami Heat, which they could have won potentially, we're not sure. But they were a game away from making the Eastern Conference Finals, and they didn't have Kawhi Leonard. I would have loved to see Kawhi Leonard stay on the Raptors and try and push that to make Toronto a dynasty. Obviously, he wanted to go to Los Angeles, but it's always going to be an interesting what if because I do think that Kawhi Leonard Raptors team was dominant. They're going to be forgotten as one of the better teams that we've seen in a while. And if he had stayed with Siakam's growth, Kyle Lowry continuing to play the way he does, Fred VanVleet's growth, things would have gotten scary. Especially with the way Norman Powell also broke out this season. I've said this many times, but Suns-Nets finals, definitely could see that. Romeo Langford is the key to the Celtics' success because of his defensive presence and the depth he provides at wing. I don't know if he's the key to their success. To me, that feels like Kemba Walker because Tatum and Brown are pretty consistent. It just depends if Kemba Walker can show up on any given night. But Romeo Langford is definitely a key. I liked the defensive tenacity he's shown in the past, and in his very limited time that he had last game back, he showed a little bit of that. If he could help them play some wing defense, especially when you have a lot of good players that are in the Eastern Conference that can play at the wing position, have someone to lock up Joe Harris on the Brooklyn Nets if you play against them, prevent him from getting those wide open three-point opportunities that kill a lot of teams. It's possible that he could be important to them. We'll just see if his role keeps expanding. The Jazz can make the NBA Finals and will take the Lakers to 7 games. I don't think that this is an argument. I think this is just true. Jokic will be in the conversation for the greatest center of all, or greatest offensive center ever by the time his career is over. I think so. That might sound crazy, but look at Jokic's numbers. Look how much he's putting up. Look how much he's producing. Let's see. The Magic have a really bright future. They've impressed me so far. I didn't really love the return they got for Nikola Vucevic, but Wendell Carter Jr., he's been showing out. They got 2 draft picks for him, so Chuma Okeke has shown a lot of potential as the 16th overall pick last season. Missed all of last season due to his ACL tear in the, I believe it was an ACL. Yeah, it was an ACL, I think, in the tournament when he was playing with Auburn in their game against Kentucky, I believe it was, right before they played UVA, who won the national championship. Quick UVA plug. Yeah, I think the Magic do have a bright future. Obviously, they have Fultz and Isaac coming back off of injuries. There's potential there. Sexland is a top 5 backcourt. Let me think about this. Trailblazers, Wizards. I'm blanking on other teams. Celtics have a better backcourt. Kemba and Jaylen Brown. Suns, Chris Paul and Devin Booker. And I'm definitely forgetting another team. I'm definitely forgetting several teams. I don't think so. I don't think they are. I'm forgetting multiple teams right now. I'm kind of blanking, but I don't think so. Yeah, I'm going to go with no. They've been really good, though. Darius Garland had a great game last night. He still has a lot of potential. Both of them do. Happy to see them succeeding. Presti will end up with 2 of Kuminga, Mobley, and or Suggs on draft night via trading excess picks. I think we could also theoretically just get the 1st and 5th pick and end up with like a Cade and one of these guys. But I would love to get any 3 of these guys. If we got 2 of these guys, I would be happy as hell. I think the rebuild gets pretty close to over as long as one, if not both of those draft picks hits with the production we've seen from some of our guys this season. The finals won't even be fun to watch this year. I disagree. I think it's going to be fun, even if the Brooklyn Nets make it and they are dominant, because I feel like that's what this person's hinting at. Especially if it's like a Lakers-Nets finals. That has so many cool storylines in it. I think there's so many storylines in this year's finals. I don't think that's true. Dame is Tyler Ulis, but gets 30 shots a game. What? We'll move on. The Heat still aren't contenders without a good 2-way stopper like Jay Crowder. I don't know. I mean, Oladipo kind of is a 2-way guy. If he can find some offensive consistency, that's been his issue. Defense has not been this problem this season. It's been the offense. If he can find that problem or figure out those problems, it helps them a lot. But I don't know how I feel about the Heat. I don't know if they're contenders right now. Lonzo Ball will make an all-NBA first team one season. That's tough. I don't think so. Just because it's not because of Lonzo, it's because of the guard talent in the NBA right now. He's going to have to pass a lot of guys. We could just talk about Luka. Luka's probably going to be a lock for that for most of his career. Lonzo would need an incredible season. I love how Lonzo's been playing, though. He's been so good. I'm really happy for him because I felt like a lot of people gave up on him. If you put Bam on this year's Warriors and Clay is magically fully healthy, they sweep the Nets in the finals. So this would be a starting lineup of Steph, Clay, Wiggins, Draymond, and Bam. They do not sweep. No, they don't sweep the Nets. Not at all. Do they put up a fight? Absolutely. I would love to see this series. Thunder are 2 years away from being a contender. Might be a little bit further than 2 seasons, but I mean, hey, I'm good with it. And oh shoot, we're at 18 minutes. All right, so I'll call it right now if I find another one. Nah, I'm not seeing too much more. I think there was a quote tweet on this, so I can go look at that real quick. Or there's not a quote tweet. I think the quote tweet, what it said was, it was from my friend Riley at Kohler Sports, Celtics fan. He was saying that Robert Williams has potential to be a top 5 center next season. I think he then corrected it to top 10 center. But Robert Williams is really good. If you want to see more about me talking about Robert Williams, go check out the video I just dropped yesterday. You guys' support on that has been incredible. But I talked a lot about him in that video, so I'm not going to talk about him much here. But I will say he has a ton of potential. So with that being said, this was y'all's hot takes. Let me know what you thought about these takes. If you have any more hot takes, drop them in the comments below, and maybe I'll respond to some of them. For now, though, I will see you guys later. Real one, say it back.